Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 6 of Narnia week. That means that we sadly only have one day after this. So sad. But today I will be reading you guys the first chapter of The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis. Also, if you're new to my channel or like you're just kind of wondering like what is Narnia week? It is a week where I have been posting the first chapter of each or of reading each Chronicles of Narnia, like the first chapter of each Narnia book, every day for a week. That's Narnia week. So yeah, I thought it'd be a fun idea to do, and it was kind of an easy, like doable thing for me to be able um to do. So I'm really excited. So obviously at the top of the show, the video, I always kind of give like a fun little like fun fact or just like, I don't know, fun little bit of information, just a little something. So, Silverchair, this one is another kind of unique one that, like, there's only certain books in the Chronicles of Narnia that have been adapted for TV or for, what is it? For film. Oh, sorry. And of course, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is the one that's probably the most adapted. Prince Caspian has been adapted a couple of times as well, and then Voyage of the Dawn Treader a couple of times. But if you want to, well, unfortunately, you can't see it. But if you want to hear an adaptation of every single Narnia book, Focus on the Family Radio Theater did a complete audio drama series where they adapted all seven Chronicles of Narnia, and they are the best because it's kind of the only way where you can, like, at least hear, like, actors, acting out, and also it's like full production. So, like, you hear sound, like amazing sound effects. The sound design is absolutely incredible as well. And it's got good music. I need to do a re listen. And I think in my last two videos or so, I have put the link down below, but I'll do that again so that way you guys can see it. Um, Today is, of course, in each video, I'm trying to, continue my campaign to petition the Logos Theater. I think that they're from South Carolina, but don't quote me on that. They are an amazing like theater production company with like Christian values, and they are working on adapting all Chronicles of Narnia for the stage. They have done Lion, The Horse and His Boy. They have done Prince Caspian, and I think they're working on the other ones. But unfortunately, even though they have many of their other productions on demand on their website to watch, like you pay to watch it, but it's affordable, especially if you don't have the funds to either drive or fly out to where they are, or even if they're on tour, like they only go to certain cities on tour. If you are not able to afford that, like they need to put the Narnia productions on their website on demand to watch because those are the only productions they have not put on there. So I'm not saying to bully them because we don't do that, but we are going to request. We're going to politely request and petition. I don't have a petition or anything like that. It's just like just spam their comment section and say, "Please, I can't make it out, but I really want to watch this because their productions look amazing." And like I know that they would still make money like for their productions and for their theater to keep going if they put them on demand. That's all I'm saying. Please, I beg you. So yeah, that this is a part of my yeah, this is like a petition that I just kind of added for Narnia week because I was like, please. Yeah, because yeah, and I think that they are working on the silver chair. I don't know exactly when they're gonna work on it or not, but it'll be fine. Sorry. Gotta make sure I drink water because I know that if I don't drink enough water, mm, it's not gonna be good for me. But anyway, before I move on, Um, so something that's interesting about the silver chair is that it was going to be made into a film. There was kind of like some developments for it, but sadly, like it never like made it to production. I think there was like a pre-production type of thing, but it never made it off the ground, sadly. But I would have loved to see it. And also, what's funny is Andrew Adamson, who is the director of the first two Disney Narnia adaptations. There was like a funny little hint in one of the like behind the scenes making of books that came out for Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, where there was like a comment that was made that like Andrew Adamson looked like he could have played Puddleglum if they did an adaptation of the Silver Chair. I would have loved to see that. I would still love to see that. But if you are not able to, listen to the Focus on the Family adaptation, or even, watch the Logos Theater adaptation, that I don't know when they're going to come out with that, but, if you're not able to go see that, might I recommend the BBC miniseries, Chronicles of Narnia. This is the only time that the Silver Chair was ever put to film. It is a part of the BBC Narnia lineup. Let me show you. These are my DVDs, but they are free to watch on YouTube. Someone took them and like kind of did a remaster of them, like with the picture, and they're on YouTube to watch for free. So I'm going to include that in the link below. I think kind of low key, like even though I loved all of these, the Silver Chair definitely had a special place in my heart because it was the only time I was able to watch it on film. And it was really, really good. It was, great, cheesy, like early 90s BBC production. And also, the guy who played Puddleglum, who was absolutely perfect, by the way, was Tom Baker, which, if you are a British person or you're someone who loved watching Doctor Who, especially the classic Doctor Who, you'll know that Tom Baker was one of the doctors. He was the one, I can't remember which doctor he was, if he was like the fourth doctor, I think. Don't quote me on that. But he was the one with like the really long, like colorful scarf. He was really, really cool. But I first knew him as Puddleglum. And then, of course, I did watch some episodes of him when he played the doctor. So that's some really cool fun facts for you guys. So anyway, that should be all of the that should be all of the little fun facts that I have. But I actually wanted to bring up a reminder about one more thing because I think I've kind of forgotten to like tease it in my past couple of videos. But something that I brought up in my earlier videos in Narnia Week, like the first three, was the fact that there's been different reading orders of the books suggested by different Narnia scholars and readers over the years. And generally, the one that is accepted now, that's done with, like that people put in order of um, like they, like this is how like they number them nowadays, is like The Magician's Nephew, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, Silver Chair, and then The Last Battle. And there are a few other reading orders suggested, and I did mention them in some of my past videos. But I teased this earlier, and I'm going to tease it again. But I actually have a reading order of my own that I would like to suggest, So, and that's going to come tomorrow when I read the first chapter of The Last Battle. So, if you want to watch that, obviously you're going to have to wait, but I'm hoping that this, gets you a little interested. So stay tuned for my own proposed reading order, you know. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to read the first chapter of The Silver Chair, which again, this one I would say The Silver Chair is like one of my top favorite Narnia books. Sorry. I think like my top favorite ones, to be honest, are like, I don't know, I think it's like Horse and His Boy, and then we have like, I don't know, I feel like they're all, it's hard to like, because I don't want to compare them, but like my top favorite ones, like I think like Horse and His Boy, and then obviously like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is like so classic, but I also have a great love for Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and then The Silver Chair is just low key one of my absolute favorites. I feel like it kind of like comes out of nowhere. And also similar to Horse and His Boy, it has a really great journey and like quest, and it's just amazing. Also, one other kind of fun thing that I meant to bring up, and I'm just now remembering it. So, there have been over the years a few people, like artists, bands, and stuff, particularly like Christian artists, who use Narnia as inspiration for like an album or music that they write. And honestly, I really wanted to like give a big shout out to two different artists because these albums were like on repeat for a certain season in my life and they are so good. So the first one I'm going to recommend is an album called Into the Lantern Waste by Sarah Sparks. That one is just so good. So she wrote the whole album is like essentially each song pretty much is like pretty much like I mean she has like a couple of songs for like the same book, but she pretty much has like a song for each of the Narnia books, and they're like either about different characters or they're from like one character's POV. It's really, really cool. And also the way that she writes and like sings, just she's very, very gifted in that. And I love the way that she composed the music, the way that she sang it, and like the way that she wrote the lyrics. So good. So I'm going to have the Spotify link to that below, but I'm sure that you can listen to her music on other formats, but it's just, Spotify is the one that I use, so it's like right there. And also, you can find her music on YouTube as well. So, and then another reason why I wanted to shout out this music is because this next album has a really great song that is like for the silver chair that I love. So there is a band called the Grey Havens, and they're literally named after a certain plot point in The Lord of the Rings. They're like this Christian band, like they like have things from like Christian point of view, and they even for them it's hard for them to like describe their musical style, but they're like this folk kind of storytelling, like that's their musical style is like kind of folk and like storytelling, and like it's hard for them to just describe the genre of music that they do, but just go listen to the Grey Havens and you'll kind of understand what I mean. But like they're really good at like telling a story through song, and it's just chef's kiss all around. And I think I can't remember if it's Gray with an A or Gray with an E, but just look up the Grey Havens. They have a album, which again I'm going to link that below, along with Sarah Sparks' album, that's called Blue Flower. And the entire album was inspired by, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like the leader of the band had read a book about C.S. Lewis, and he was in like his life, and he was inspired to write this entire album based on C.S. Lewis's life. But he also like weaves in the themes of each Narnia book as well into some of the songs. So it's like there are songs that are kind of about like C.S. Lewis, but also at the same time, it's um like he essentially does have like a song for pretty much each Narnia book from what I think of, but it's so good. And I have quite a few songs on that album, which I'll list my favorites down below. But my absolute favorite, which was the one that they wrote specifically to be paired with Silver Chair, is called Pale Moonlight, and it is so good. Pale Moonlight was on repeat for a long season in my life because it's so good, it's so epic. I think like the type of genre that they described that song being was called creepy epic, but don't let the word creepy like throw you off. It's just like sorry, I'm talking too fast. It's just like got this like really cool, like hauntingly beautiful vibe that I feel fits very well in with this story, especially the last part of this story. Don't really want to spoil it in case you haven't read the story, but when they go down to the world below. Excuse me. Definitely gonna have to take a break from filming after I film this. I'm good. Thank you. I know that like I could just like edit around this, but this is kind of what my channel is based on, is just me with my camera doing it all in one take. And who knows? I may change it at some point, but I don't really plan on changing that anytime too soon because this is just easier for me. And you can always skip ahead to, part that's interesting. Oh, yes. But yeah, I feel like the song really goes with like the underland parts of this book. But for now, we are going to be starting in our world in the Silver Chair. So here we go. Here comes chapter 1 of The Silver Chair. And so yesterday I read to you guys my absolute favorite first line in a Narnia book. And I will say this one, I don't know if it's necessarily my second favorite, but something that I will say about it is like I feel like it's one of the most under um what is it? Not underwhelmed, but it's like one of the most like underhyped, like it's kind of like a sleeper one where it's just like you don't really think about this one or expect it, but there's just something just so like I don't know. It's got this just this stuff to it, you know. But anyway, The Silver Chair, chapter 1, Behind the Gem. It was a dull autumn day, and Jill Pole was crying behind the gym. She was crying because they had been bullying her. This is not going to be a school story, so I shall say as little as possible about Jill's school, which is not a pleasant subject. It was coeducational, a school for both boys and girls, what used to be called a mixed school. Some said it was not nearly so mixed as the minds of the people who ran it. These people had the idea that boys and girls should be allowed to do what they liked. And unfortunately, what 10 or 15 of the biggest boys and girls liked best was bullying the others. All sorts of things, horrible things, went on at which an ordinary school would have been found out and stopped in half a term. Gosh, sorry about that. But at this school, they weren't. Even if they were, the people who did them were not expelled or punished. The head said they were interesting psychological cases and sent for them and talked to them for hours. And if you knew the right sort of things to say to the head, the main result was that you became rather a favorite than otherwise. That was why Jill Pole was crying on that dull autumn day on a damp little patch which runs between the back of the gym and the shrubbery, and she hadn't nearly finished her cry when a boy came round the corner of the gym whistling, with his hands in his pockets. He nearly ran into her. "Can't you look where you're going?" said Jill Pole. "All right," said the boy. "You needn't start." And then he noticed her face. "I say, Pole," he said, "what's up?" Jill only made faces, the sort you make when you're trying to say something, but you find that if you speak you'll start crying again. "It's them, I suppose, as usual." Oh, no, wait, sorry, that's not Jill saying. "It's them, I suppose, as usual," said the boy grimly, digging his hands farther into his pockets. Jill nodded. There was no need for her to say anything, even if she could have said it. They both knew. "Now look here," said the boy. "There's no good no good us all." He meant well, but he did talk rather like someone beginning a lecture. Jill suddenly flew into a temper, which is quite a likely thing to happen if you have been interrupted in a cry. "Oh, go away and mind your own business," she said. "Nobody asked you to come barging in, did they? And you're a nice person to start telling us what we all ought to do, aren't you? I suppose you mean we ought to spend all our time sucking up to them, and currying favour, and dancing attendance on them like you do." "Oh, law," said the boy, sitting down on the grassy bank at the edge of the shrubbery, and very quickly getting up again because the grass was soaking wet. His name, unfortunately, was Eustace Scrubb, but he wasn't a bad sort. "Pole," he said, "is that fair? Have I been doing any of the sort this term? Didn't I stand up to Carter about the rabbit? And didn't I keep the secret about Spivins under torture too? And didn't I— Oh, I don't know, and I don't care," sobbed Jill. Scrub saw that she wasn't quite herself yet, and very sensibly offered her a peppermint. He had one too. Presently, Jill began to see things in a clearer light. "I'm sorry, Scrub," she said presently. "I wasn't fair. You have done all that. This term." "Then wash out last term if you can," said Eustace. I was a different chap then. I was, gosh, what a little tick I was. Well, honestly, you were, said Jill. You think there has been a change then? Said Eustace. It's not only me, said Jill. Everyone's been saying so. They've noticed it. Eleanor Blakiston, oh my gosh, I'm hoping I say this right, heard Adela Pennyfather talking about it in our changing room yesterday. She said, something's got hold of that scrub kid. He's quite unmanageable this term. We shall have to attend to him next. Eustace gave a shudder. Everyone at Experiment House knew what it was like being attended to by them. Both children were quiet for a moment, the drops dripping off the laurel leaves. Why were you so different last term? Said Jill presently. A lot of odd things happened to me in the halls. Halls? Oh, the holidays, said Eustace mysteriously. What sort of things? Asked Jill. Eustace didn't say anything for quite a long time. Then he said, Now look here, Poll. You and I hate this place about as much as anybody can hate anything, don't we? I know I do, said Jill. Then I really think I can trust you. Damn good of you, said Jill. Oh, Jill cussing, okay. But this is really a terrific secret. Poll, I say, are you good at believing things? I mean, things that everyone here would laugh at? I've never had the chance, said Jill, but I think I would be. Could you believe me if I said I'd been right out of the world? Outside this world, last holes? I wouldn't know what you meant. Well, don't let's bother about worlds then. Supposing I told you I'd been to a place where animals can talk, and where there are, uh, enchantments, and dragons, and, well, all sorts of things you have in fairy tales. Scrub felt terribly awkward as he said this and got red in the face. How did you get there? Said Jill. She also felt curiously shy. The only way you can. By magic, said Eustace, almost in a whisper. I was with two cousins of mine. We were just whisked away. They'd been there before. Now they were talking in whispers. Now that they were talking in whispers, Jill somehow felt it easier to believe. Then suddenly a horrible suspicion came over her, and she said, so fiercely fiercely that for the moment she looked like a tigress. If I find out you've been pulling my leg, I'll never speak to you again. Never, never, never. I'm not that, or I'm not, said Eustace. I swear I'm not. I swear by everything. When I was at school, one would have said, I swear by the Bible, but Bibles were not encouraged at Experiment House. All right, said Jill. I'll believe you. And tell nobody. What do you take me for? They were very excited as they said this. But when they had said it, and Jill looked round and saw the dull autumn sky, and heard the drip off the leaves, and thought of all the hopelessness of Experiment House, it was a 13-week term, and there were still 11 weeks to come, she said, But after all, what's the good? We're not there. We're here. And we jolly well can't get there. Or can we? That's what I've been wondering, said Eustace. When we came back from that place, someone said that the two Pevensey kids, that's my two cousins, could never go there again. It was the third time, you see. I suppose they'd had their share. But he never said I couldn't. Surely he would have said so, unless he meant that I was to get back. And I can't help wondering, can we? Could we? Do you mean do something to make it happen? Eustace nodded. You mean we might draw a circle on the ground and write in strange letters in it, and stand inside it and recite charms and spells? Well, said Eustace, after he had thought hard for a bit, I believe that was the sort of thing I was thinking of, though I never did it. But now that it comes to the point, I've an idea that all those circles and things are rather rot. I really think I don't think he'd like them. It would look as if we thought we could make him do things. But really, we can only ask him. Who is this person you keep on talking about? They call him Aslan in that place, said Eustace. What a curious name. Only not half so curious as himself, said Eustace solemnly. But let's get on. And it can't do any harm, just asking. Let's stand side by side like this, and we'll hold out our arms in front of us with the palms down, like they did in Ramandu's island. Whose island? I'll tell you about that another time. and he might like us to face the east. Well, let's see. Where is the east? I don't know, said Jill. It's an extraordinary thing about girls that they never know the points of the compass, said Eustace. You don't know either, said Jill indignantly. Yes, I do. If only you didn't keep on interrupting. I've got it now. That's east. East, facing up into the laurels. Now, will you say the words after me? What words? Asked Jill. The words I'm going to say, of course, answered Eustace. Now, and he began. Aslan, 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 repeated Jill. Please let the two of us go into. At that moment, a voice from the other side of the gym was heard shouting out, Pole? Yes, I know where she is. She's blubbing behind the gym. Shall I fetch her out? Jill and Eustace gave one glance at each other, dived under the laurels, and began scrambling up the steep, earthy slope of the shrubbery at a speed which did them great credit. Owing to the curious methods of teaching at Experiment House, one did not learn much French or maths or Latin or things of that sort, but one did learn a lot about getting away quickly and quietly when they were looking for one. After about a minute's scramble, they stopped to listen and knew by the noises they heard that they were being followed. If only the door was open again, said Scrub as they went on, and Jill nodded. For at the top of the shrubbery was a high stone wall, and in that wall a door by which you could get out onto open moor. This door was nearly always locked. But there had been times when people had found it open, or perhaps there had been only or perhaps there had been only one time. But you may imagine how the memory of even one time kept people hoping and trying the door, for if it should happen to be unlocked, it would be a splendid way of getting outside the school grounds without being seen. Jill and Eustace, now both very hot and very grubby from going along bent almost double under the laurels, panted up to the wall, and there was the door, shut as usual. It's sure to be no good, said Eustace, with his hand on the handle, and then, oh, by gum! For the handle turned and the door opened. A moment before, both of them had meant to get through the doorway in double quick time, if by any chance the door was not locked. But when the door actually opened, they both stood stock still, for what they saw was quite different from what they had expected. They had expected to see the gray, heathery slope of the moor going up and up to join the dull autumn sky. Instead, a blaze of sunshine met them. It poured through the doorway as the light of a June day does into a garage when you open the door. It made the drops of water on the grass glitter like beads, and showed up the dirtiness of Jill's tear-stained face, and the sunlight was coming from what certainly did look like a different world, what they could see of it. They saw smooth turf, smoother and brighter than Jill had ever seen before, and blue sky, and, darting to and fro, things so bright that they might have been jewels or huge butterflies. Although she had been longing for something like this, Jill felt frightened. She looked at Scrub's face and saw that he was frightened too. Oh, come on, Pole, he said in a breathless voice. Can we get back? Is it safe? Asked Jill. At that moment, a voice shouted from behind, a mean, spiteful little voice. Now then, Pole, it squeaked. Everyone knows you're there. Down you come. It was the voice of Edith Jackal, not one of them herself, but one of their hangers on and tale-bearers. Quick, said Scrub. Here, hold hands. We mustn't get separated. And before she quite knew what was happening, he had grabbed her hand and pulled her through the door and out of the school grounds, out of England, out of our world, into that place. The sound of Edith Jackal's voice stopped suddenly, as if the voice on the radio, or as the voice on the radio when it is switched off. Instantly there was quite a different sound all about them. It came from those bright things overhead, which now turned out to be birds. They were making a riotous noise, but it was much more like music, rather advanced music when you don't quite take it in at the first hearing, than bird songs ever are in our world. Yet, in spite of the singing, there was a sort of background of immense silence. That silence, combined with the freshness of the air, made Jill think they must be on the top of a very high mountain. Scrub still had her by the hand, and they were walking forward, staring about them on every side. Jill saw that huge trees, rather like cedars, but bigger, grew in every direction. But as they did not grow close together, and as there was no undergrowth, this did not prevent one from seeing a long way into the forest, to left and right, and as far as Jill's eye could reach. It was all the same: level turf, darting birds with yellow or dragonfly blue, or rainbow plumage, blue shadows, and emptiness. There was not a breath of wind in that cool but bright air. It was a very lonely forest. Right ahead, there were no trees, only blue sky. They went straight on without speaking until suddenly Jill heard Scrub say, "Look out!" and felt herself jerked back. They were at the very edge of a cliff. Jill was one of those lucky people who have a head for heights. She didn't mind in the least standing on the edge of a precipice. She was rather annoyed with Scrub for pulling her back. "Just as if I was a kid," she said, and she wrenched her hand out of his. When she saw how very white he had turned, she despised him. "What's the matter?" she said, and to show that she was not afraid, she stood very near the edge indeed, in fact a good deal nearer than even she liked. Then she looked down. She now realized that Scrub had some excuse for looking white, for no cliff in our world is to be compared with this. Imagine yourself at the top of the very highest cliff you know, and imagine yourself looking down to the very bottom. And then imagine that the precipice goes on below, that as far again, 10 times as far, 20 times as far. And when you've looked down all that distance, imagine little white things that might, at first glance, be mistaken for sheep. But presently you realize that they are clouds, not little wreaths of mist, but the enormous white, puffy clouds which are themselves as big as most mountains. And at last, in between these clouds, you get your first glimpse of the real bottom, so far away that you can't make out whether it's field or wood or land or water, farther below these clouds than you are above them. Jill stared at it. Then she thought that perhaps, after all, she would step back a foot or so from the edge, but she didn't like to for fear of what Scrub would think. Then she suddenly decided that she didn't care what he thought, and that she would jolly well get away from that horrible edge, and never laugh at anyone for not liking heights again. But when she tried to move, she found she couldn't. Her legs seemed to have turned into putty. Everything was swimming before her eyes. "What are you doing, Pole? Come back, blithering little idiot!" shouted Scrub, but his voice seemed to be coming from a long way off. She felt him grabbing at her, but by now she had no control over her own arms and legs. There was a moment's struggle on the cliff edge. Jill was too frightened and dizzy to know quite what she was doing, but two things she remembered as long as she lived. They often came back to her in her dreams. One was that she had wrenched herself free of Scrub's clutches, and the other was that, at the same moment, Scrub himself, with a terrified scream, had lost his balance and gone hurtling to the depths. Fortunately, she was given no time to think over what she had done. Some huge, brightly colored animal had rushed to the edge of the cliff. It was lying down, leaning over, and, this was the odd thing, blowing, not roaring or snorting, but just blowing from its wide open mouth, blowing out as steadily as a vacuum cleaner sucks in. Jill was lying so close to the creature that she could feel the breath vibrating steadily through its body. She was lying still because she couldn't get up. She was nearly fainting. Indeed, she wished she could really faint, but faints don't come for the asking. At last she saw, far away below her, a tiny black speck floating away from the cliff, and slightly upward. As it rose, it also got farther away. By the time it was nearly on level with the cliff top, it was so far off that she lost sight of it. It was obviously moving away from them at a great speed. Jill couldn't help thinking that the creature at her side was blowing it away. So she turned and looked at the creature. It was a lion. Alrighty, and that is the end of chapter 1 of The Silver Chair. I hope that that intrigues you enough to read it if you haven't already. And before I give myself any kind of sore throat like I did the last time I did 2 videos in one day, I'm going to end this right here and get on with my day. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video very much. Thank you guys so much for enjoying Narnia Week. We just have one more video left, so I will see you guys in that next one. Don't forget to check out the links down below, and just thank you so, so much for visiting my channel and giving it a chance, and for bearing with me with coughing. I love you guys so much, and God bless. Bye.